Magic Treehouse, Time of the Turtle King. Written by Mary Pope Osborne. Chapter 7, Rivers of Fire. The two soldiers climbed into the front of the truck. Jack and Annie sat in back. Cruz started the engine. The truck turned onto a back road. Then it sped away from the Giant Tortoise Center. Annie looked at Jack. "We've got this," she said in a low voice. Jack wasn't so sure. He leaned forward. "Sirs, can you explain our part in this mission?" he said. "A small group of giant tortoises live on the southwest side of the Blue Hill volcano. We thought they were safe," said Pinto. "Until yesterday." "What happened yesterday?" asked Jack. "The lava river split into two streams," said Pinto. "One of them is now flowing toward the home ground of the Blue Hill tortoises." Annie nodded. "That's bad," she said. "Yes, but there were earlier airlifts today," said Cruz. "Hopefully our team has rescued them all." "But there could be stragglers," said Pinto. "And this is the last chance to help them escape," said Cruz. Jack's expert self was very alarmed. "Gentlemen, it's absolutely vital we save every last one," he said. "The tortoises of Blue Hill are extremely rare. Reports say 98% of their population has disappeared in the last 180 years. We can't afford to lose any of them." "Understood," said Pinto. Jack sat back in his seat and took a deep breath. Right now, his fear for the tortoises was greater than any fear of an active volcano. He nodded to Annie. "We've got this," he said. "Read Morgan's rhyme," she whispered. "Why?" asked Jack. As an expert, he'd given little thought to Morgan's rhyme. He hadn't felt they'd needed it. "To make sure we're doing the right thing," said Annie. "We are," said Jack confidently. But just to please Annie, he pulled out the rhyme. As they read it together, Annie pointed to the third section. "But the expert to find, the one to admire, is the one you must save from a river of fire." "No problem," Jack said in her ear. "Morgan's talking about the giant tortoises. They're obviously the true experts. They're the experts at being giant tortoises. It's all falling into place." "Right, but read this part," said Annie. She pointed to the last section. Jack read to himself. "Be honest and gentle. No need to be smart. Just look eye to eye and talk heart to heart." "That's super important," Annie whispered to Jack. Jack nodded. Those lines were nice, but as an expert, he certainly didn't find them super important. He tucked the rhyme back into his pocket. The truck headed along the road beside the ocean and past the few shops. Then it bounced over a long sandy road. The road ended at a small airstrip. A military helicopter was waiting. "There's our chopper," said Cruz. "A chopper ride? Wow," said Annie. "That's our first—" Jack held up his hand to stop her. "That's our favorite way to travel," Annie said, correcting herself. Cruz parked near the runway. "It will get us there quickly. We'll be on the volcano in 10 or 15 minutes. "Good, the sooner the better," said Jack. His expert self was unafraid of taking his first chopper ride. The four of them climbed out of the truck and hurried to the runway. The helicopter's cockpit had 4 seats. Jack and Annie climbed into the seats behind the two pilots. Cruz handed them helmets, and they strapped them on. "How does this chopper transport tortoises?" Jack asked. "We have crates in the cargo section," said Cruz. A moment later, the blades started to swirl. With a roar, the helicopter lifted off the ground. It rocked from side to side, then headed into the sky. Annie grinned at Jack. "Yikes," she mouthed. Jack gave her a thumbs up. The helicopter flew over flat, rocky land dotted with bushes and other plants. Pinto pointed to a distant, dome-shaped volcano with sloping sides. "That's it," he shouted above the roar of the chopper blades. A cloud of steam rose from the top of Blue Hill. Red-hot lava bubbled down the sides. "Whoa!" said Annie. Jack tapped his finger against his mouth, reminding her to act cool. But his heart pounded as the chopper drew closer. The volcanic eruption looked terrifying. Jack could see the two fiery streams that had split from the lava river. Lava was also oozing from cracks in the slope. Patches of grass were catching fire. Smoke filled the air. The helicopter started to land on a lower part of the volcano. The surface was rough and craggy from ancient lava flows. Through the smoke, Jack saw black rocks of all sizes, tall grass, and thick clumps of bright yellow and apple-green cactus plants. "Good tortoise food, prickly pear cactus," Jack shouted to Pinto and Cruz. "They like the yellow lava cactus, too," shouted Annie. "It only grows on the volcanoes of the Galapagos." "That's where we should begin our search," shouted Jack. "Understood," shouted Pinto. The spinning blades were slowing as the helicopter settled on the slope. Finally, they came to a full stop. "Okay, let's go," said Cruz. "Make it fast. That lava will be here before we know it." "Understood," said Annie. She and Jack took off their helmets and climbed down onto the rough black ground. Chapter 8. The Last One. The smoky air was hot and steamy. Above Jack and Annie, the stream of liquid fire was steadily moving their way. "Separate and search the area," said Cruz. Jack, Annie, Cruz, and Pinto headed in different directions to search for giant tortoises still stranded on the volcano. As Jack stepped around chunks of jagged black rock, his eyes and throat burned from the smoke. He moved between thickets of green prickly pear cactus and lava cactus. He bent down to look behind a lava plant. "Ouch!" he yelped. The lava cactus had needle-sharp spines. A clump of spines had poked through his shirt sleeve, pricking his skin. Jack yanked his arm loose, nearly falling over. "All clear," Cruz shouted. "Annie?" "Clear, sir," shouted Annie. "Jack?" shouted Cruz. "Clear," Jack yelled hoarsely. But suddenly nothing seemed clear. He could hardly see through the smoke. His thoughts were muddled. His arm hurt. He didn't know what he was doing. "We have to move quick. The lava will be here soon," Cruz yelled. "Meet you at the chopper." Jack stumbled away from the cactus plants. He looked up and saw the river of lava oozing down the slope. He felt terrified. "Let's go, Jack," Annie called. Jack didn't answer. "Jack, are you okay?" Annie called, running to him. "No, yes," said Jack, breathing hard. "I don't know." "Hey, where's your badge?" cried Annie. Jack looked down at his shirt. "Oh no, it's gone," he said. "It must have come unclipped from my pocket." He looked around wildly. "Okay, stay calm, don't panic," said Annie. "But Cruz and Pinto will see I'm just a kid," cried Jack. "It's happened again, just like when I lost my magic baseball cap." "Don't worry, we'll find it," "You start looking," said Annie. "I'll go tell the guys you have one more place to search for tortoises." Annie took off. Jack started crawling on his hands and knees, frantically searching for his badge. He crawled around the prickly pear and lava cactus. He looked deep into crevices. He peered under a shelf of rock. He gasped. 2 shining eyes stared back at him. Jack scrunched down to see better. The shiny black eyes belonged to a giant tortoise. "Oh no," Jack said. "We can't be here. You have to go. Lava's coming this way." The creature kept staring at Jack with a calm, thoughtful gaze. The tortoise was completely tucked inside the small cave of rock. There was no way to get it out. Jack wished he were wearing his badge. He didn't know anything about giant tortoises now, how to help them or what to do. He was overcome with fear and confusion. "You've got to come out," Jack begged. "Please, Annie," he called, but his voice was hoarse. "Annie!" "Listen, lava's coming," Jack said to the tortoise. "It's burning up everything in its path." The creature still didn't move. "Oh, come out! Please hurry," Jack pleaded. He put all his heart into begging the tortoise. "Please, lava's headed this way. You'll be killed if you don't come out. There are soldiers to fly you to safety. Please start walking. Walk to me, and I can take you to them. You're one of the last of your kind. You have to come out." Jack felt tears in his eyes. "We can't lose you. Please." Slowly, finally, the tortoise stuck out its neck. It started toward Jack on its thick, stumpy legs. "Yes! Oh man, that's it! Keep coming," Jack urged. He crawled backward to make room for the tortoise. "Faster! Walk faster!" The giant tortoise kept plodding forward until it stepped out from under the ledge. The creature's small head moved close to Jack's face. Its flat nose was almost touching Jack's nose. Jack held his breath as he looked straight into the bright black eyes of the giant tortoise. He and the tortoise stared at each other for a long moment. Jack felt as if he were looking into a face as old as time. He felt as if the two of them had known each other forever. "You're going to be okay," he whispered to the tortoise. "I promise. I love you. The whole world loves you." "Jack, Jack," Annie called from nearby. "I'm here," Jack shouted. "Come quick." "Good news," Annie shouted. "I found your badge. It had fallen between some lava plants. Come on, we're leaving." "No, you come here," yelled Jack. Annie hurried around the rocks. "Okay, but what could be better?" Annie stopped short when she saw Jack and the tortoise. "Oh, wow! You found one! A giant tortoise! I don't believe it!" she cried. "I'll get the guys." Annie tossed the badge into the grass near Jack. Then she ran back to the helicopter. Jack rubbed his finger along the wrinkled, leathery skin of the creature's neck. "Pinto and Cruz are coming for you now," he said gently to the tortoise. "They'll pick you up. But don't worry, they're super strong. They're part of special forces in Ecuador. They'll fly you to safety." The creature kept looking at Jack with bright, trusting eyes. Its mouth curved into a thin, crooked smile. Jack smiled back. They kept smiling silently at each other until Jack heard Annie and the soldiers. Jack grabbed his badge from the grass. He clipped it to his shirt pocket. And instantly, he was a world turtle expert again.